Our final race of the day then is the Heats Last Chance race, sponsored by Camtech. This is the final aimshop.com Formula Ford Festival race of the day, of course. It's the final race in general, and the final chance then for these drivers to seal a position within the semi-finals tomorrow. So basically the way this works, the grid is made up of finishing positions 17 to 26 in the various heats that we had earlier on today. So those that didn't automatically advance through the top 16 all come through into this last chance race. It will be a 12-lap race in, as you can see, very wet conditions. The top 12 finishers will go through, so we will lose just under half of the field in this race, after this race I should say, who will unfortunately have to pack up and go home, or maybe stick around to watch the rest of the festival, but they won't get through automatically into the semis. So this is a high stakes race this now. Pole position is taken by Andrew Blair because he was the 17th place finisher from the fastest heat. Then Jason Down was the 17th place finisher in the second fastest heat, so he's second, with Stephen Mahwini lining up third there in the grey and orange car on the inside of row number 3. So the cars then make their way out onto the green flag lap, and the nerves now start to jangle, I'm sure, because for many of these drivers this is it, although actually perhaps not, because a lot of these cars are what would be described as classic Formula Fords now, and that means that they will also be eligible to race in the classic final tomorrow. So actually many of them probably will stick around to compete in that race tomorrow afternoon. So the grid then, I'll run you through the grid now, because it's an interesting one, particularly towards the rear end of it. Andrew Blair has the pole position with Jason Down alongside, as I said, with Stephen McWhinney third, then Mark Armstrong fourth on the grid. Row 3 for Ollie Chapman and Matthew Skelton. Row 4, Stuart Kestenbaum and Trevor Delaney. Then Simon Pruce and Henry Campbell to round out the top 10. Ian Geary and Joe Walton round out the top 12. Remember, it's the top 12 at the end of the race that go through into the semis. Then Phil Atwood and Laurie Hughes looking to try and make progress into that top 12. Then it's Terry Walkingshaw with Chris Stewart next up in 16th position. Then John Whitbourne and Tom Clowett, who we saw pulling off as a retirement in, I believe it was heat number 3. Then 19th on the grid, row 10, Jonathan Woolridge. Now remember, I thought there might have been some sort of a timing glitch after the first heat earlier on today, because we saw Jonathan had been well and truly in the mix for possibly a top 5 finish in that race, and actually ended up not getting through at all. According to my timing screen, he was classified outside the top 20. Well, it turns out that was correct. He must have gone off somewhere at the end of the race and has to come through from 19th on the grid. The Team Canada scholarship driver running with Cliff Dempsey Racing has to come through from 19th on the grid, and as a bare minimum get into the top 12. But of course, the further up that top 12 he gets, the better his grid position will be for the semi-final tomorrow. And if it's wet tomorrow, he could yet make progress and get himself a good starting position for the finals. This is a critical race now for Jonathan Woolridge, and Jonathan, as I said, the Canadian driver running under the Cliff Dempsey Racing Team Canada scholarship, car number 23, the white and red car then, definitely one we need to keep an eye out for. Andrew Pryke, by the way, lines up alongside him with Jordan Harrison at the back. These were all non-finishers from their various heats earlier on. To remind you, our first heat, sponsored by Head Tech, that was won by Matt Cowley. Second heat, sponsored by Whiz Wheels, won by Jonathan Brown, and Niall Murray, one of the pre-event favourites, winning the third heat, sponsored by Race Parts. They were your 3 heat winners, and they are all safe in the knowledge that they will be at front of their semi-final grid tomorrow. The first of those semi-finals, by the way, gets underway at midday tomorrow, but we'll have live racing from 10 o'clock in the morning, so make sure you tune in bright and early on Sunday morning. It'll be very early if you're watching from America and Canada, as I know many of you are. Once again, good afternoon. I think I can call it afternoon now. Yeah, 5:10, so you've almost caught up with us. Thank you for tuning in, though, and supporting this brilliant event. And despite the weather, I'm sure you'll agree, we've been able to bring you lots and lots of really good racing, and it ain't over yet. The last chance heat race new for 2019. There always has been a last chance race after the semi-finals, which is a 5-lap dash where the top 6 finishers advance to the final. Well, this is new for this year after the heats. It's so that there's a good chance that we'll get a few more drivers given the opportunity to make it through to the Sunday races, basically, so we don't have too many of them having to go home, but some of them will be out of the festival. As I said, they may have a chance to go out and race in the Classic final tomorrow, but generally speaking, this could be it for some of these drivers. So Andrew Blair then on pole position, Jason Down alongside him in a much newer car. So Jason, arguably the favourite for this one, really. He was battling away, though, with people of the same sort of pace as Andrew Blair in that in his heat earlier on. So it won't be an easy victory, this, for him by any means. The one we really need to watch, though, in a way, is Jonathan Woolridge from the back of the grid. 19th place for car number 23. There's a gap on the grid. On row 5, that looks like maybe Simon Pruce is not there. 9th position, he was due to start, car number 73, but there is definitely a gap in the 9th place grid slot. Everyone else, though, I'm hoping, is there, with Andrew Blair on pole, Jason Down alongside him, and Stephen McEwan on the second row. Lights go out, away we go. The last chance heat race gets underway with a good start made by the orange car of Mark Armstrong there from the outside of row number 2. Oh, a bit of banging of wheels there in the midfield. Number 66, that was of Trevor Delaney, losing a few spots. Side by side for the lead, though, into Paddock Hill Bend. Jason Down trying to go around the outside of Andrew Blair. He'll have the better traction off the corner and does indeed get the lead away. But keep an eye to Mark Armstrong, spinner further back. Meanwhile, off onto the grass goes one of our midfield runners. Didn't quite catch the number. But they will rejoin, albeit right at the back of the pack. At the front of the pack, though, it's Jason Down that leads. Andrew Blair second. Mark Armstrong is there in 3rd position. I think that's Stephen McEwan in 4th place. And so good start by Down. He was pretty evenly matched with Blair off the line, but that outside line just has so much more grip through paddock. And now Blair is struggling and under pressure from Mark Armstrong, who wants to get into 2nd place if he can. Goes to the inside at Surtees, but then immediately comes under attack from the car behind and will lose that 3rd position. Now I think that's Stephen McEwan that's gone into P3. The grey and orange car will, again, you just can't see anything, can you, through the gloom, and it's almost dark now. The cameras are doing a really good job of making the conditions look a lot brighter than they actually are. I can tell you it's almost pitch black out there right now. Through they come, though. End of lap number 1, 12 laps the distance, remember, so 11 laps still to go, and the race is being led then by Jason Down out in front as they power through Paddock Hill Bend once more. And Jason Down with Andrew Blair right on his gearbox, looking to try and find a way through if at all possible. McEwan is third, then Armstrong 4th, and 5th position for Chapman. Kestenbaum is 6th. What of Woolridge? He's 12th, so he's into the transfer spots now. Then is Jonathan Woolridge. The question now becomes how far up the order can he get? Could he even win the race? Because he's actually only well, he's 8 seconds off the lead, but in theory should have potential maybe to go a bit quicker than some of those in front. That, I think, might have been Stuart Kestenbaum going slowly up through Druid's corner. But they're all getting very, very close together here. Jason Down under pressure from Andrew Blair, who's also under pressure from Stephen McEwan behind him. And so the three of them as one pretty much come out of Clearway's corner for the second time of asking, and Andrew Blair is challenging for the race lead. Goes to the outside here of Jason Down across the start-finish line. This should buy him a ticket in theory to the outside line at Paddock, which should be where the grip is. He's late on the brakes, carries good speed in. Jason Down, how hard does he want to fight this? In the end, there's nothing he can do because Andrew Blair finds the grip, goes right round the outside and gets the lead of the race back away. Fastest man on the track, by the way, is Oliver Chapman in 5th position, car 124. 1 minute 6.5 was his lap time, which was about 4 tenths quicker than the leaders. But it's Blair that has gone through. Down second, third for McEwan, 4th Armstrong and 5th for Chapman. Woolridge, meanwhile, gained 2 more spots that time. He is up into 11th position, to 10th position now is Jonathan Woolridge. And was he quicker than the leader? He wasn't much slower, actually, which is good considering he's in an awful lot of traffic. So Blair then getting away now slightly from Down, McEwan and Armstrong. But as long as you're in that top 12, you get through. That's the first target. Then you've got to try and improve your grid positions, if at all possible, for the semi-final grid tomorrow. They will all start towards the back of their semi-finals, of course. But the further up in this race you are, the better your prospects of getting into the transfer spots in those semi-finals of 15 laps duration tomorrow. Through Paddock they go then. The lead gap already 1.5 seconds with a new fastest lap set by Andrew Blair. More progress made by Woolridge, I can tell you. He's into 9th place now. He's got past car number 90, Henry Campbell, and now the man on the bubble. In fact, we've had a change for 12th place. Andrew Pryke has just got himself ahead of number 25, which is Matthew Skelton. Now, Matthew Skelton started 6th, and he's just dropped down to 13th place, and that's not a moment that he's had. I think he's just generally struggling for pace, but he's now out of the top 12 transfer spots, unfortunately, as Skelton. So Pryke gets himself up a place, but it's very tight actually. There's only a second or so between the two of them, so that could continue to change potentially before the race is done. Up towards Clearways for the fourth time. And Jason Down with McEwan now in his wheel tracks as they burst back into view, I'd say, in inverted commas. There's not much of a view at the moment out of my window, but they do come back past me onto the fifth lap. The lead gap continues to go up now, 2.4 seconds, and McEwan has a look at the inside of Jason Down, but again, the grip is not there. He has to settle back in behind. Woolridge is 7th now. He's definitely going to get into the top 6, but then there's about a 5-second gap between Chapman 5th and Kestenbaum 6th, so Woolridge could catch this group of cars before the end of the race, but I don't think he's going to win it. He could get a podium though. Let's see. It'd be nice if we could check in with him maybe at some point, but after this has settled itself, because again McEwan has a look at the inside of Jason Down, but again he finds that there's just no grip on the inside line. He's slow off the corner as a result, and so Mark Armstrong now moves up to challenge, and then he goes to the inside at Surtees. As soon as you duck out to the inside line, you're just going to have no traction at all. It's so hard to execute an overtake. Clearways though, we've seen it work, and McEwan is trying now to make it happen on the inside line, but to no avail. And now look at how much slower off the corner he is than the cars around him. Jason Down gets away from him, and Mark Armstrong closes back in on him. So this three-way fight for second place comes back across the start-finish line then. Half race distance has nearly been reached. This is now the 6th lap beginning, and again he goes to the inside, carries a bit more speed this time. Can he clear down? No, not quite. Jason Down just scrabbles around the outside. Again, this is a brilliant battle between the two of them though. And McEwan is determined to make this inside line work, but he just needs to carry a bit more speed through the corners. We saw drivers achieving this, Ollie White in particular, and Rory Smith in heat number 3 earlier on. Up at Clearways, they were able to carry enough speed into the corner on the inside that they cleared the car on the outside and then blocked them on the exit. That's what McEwan is trying to do, but of course it's a lot easier said than done. You've got to have some real commitment, and there's a fine line between making the move and actually just skating off the road altogether. The next car behind them at the moment is Chapman, by the way, but Woolridge, I can tell you, is into 6th position at the moment, so he is almost onto terms with the top 5 now. And as they come back through Clearways once again, it would be nice if we could to check in with Jonathan Woolridge, the man that's just moved into 6th place now, car number 23. He's about 6.7 seconds behind the 1-2-4 of Oliver Chapman though, so there's not a huge amount of prospect of those positions changing in the immediate future, I suppose, but at some point I think it will, because he is quicker. Woolridge with a personal best, 1 minute 5.9, is the second fastest man on the track at the moment. Car going a lap down is number 67 by the looks of it, or 87 was that, Ian Geary. Yeah, 87, Ian Geary, who I think was our spinner on the first corner at Paddock Hill Bend. So he unfortunately is rather getting in the way there of the similar car of Mark Armstrong. Back along the Cooper Straight then. You can see it's very difficult to see. The rain lights of course are on to try and warn the other cars about which other cars are in their vicinity, but with no headlights and no real track lighting, it's getting very tricky out there, but they're still racing hard. Look, McEwan is not going to let Jason Down have this second place easy, and every lap he looks to the inside at Clearways. Still just needs to carry an extra mile an hour or so into the corner, that's the thing. Don't forget, Andrew Blair still leads the way, by the way, by a decent margin now too. The gap is 6.7 seconds between the race leader and this three-way fight for second position, with 5th place still belonging to Oliver Chapman, 6th place Jonathan Woolridge, and on the previous lap he was 1 second quicker than Chapman, but 4.7 seconds back, so he might catch the 5th place car before the flag. I think that's as good as it will get for Woolridge even. Will put him towards the back of his semi-final, but he's had good speed all weekend, should be able to make some progress through the left-hander down at the bottom of the hill. And a good exit there from Mark Armstrong, and again these inside lines that McEwan is taking, they're attacking lines. He's using them to try and get past Jason Down, but every time he tries it and it doesn't work, it costs him momentum and actually allows Mark Armstrong to have a go at him. And we'll see it again here. Look, McEwan takes lots of speed into the turn. You can really see it well from this camera angle as well. I'm glad we're sticking with that camera angle for the final corner. You can see there on the exit though, Armstrong is quicker than him and gets in the tow. Back markers we dealt with his car 177, I believe, which is Phil Atwood. But yeah, Jason Down gets back away from Stephen McEwan, and in the end doesn't then have to defend particularly into Paddock Hill Bend, so maybe a change of tack could be handy here for McEwan as he tries to secure this second position that he's been chasing all race long. So through they go then, through the gloom into Graham Hill Bend. McEwan using a bit of traffic there actually to get a bit of breathing room over Mark Armstrong behind him, so he might not have to defend as much this time. Where has Mark Armstrong gone? No, there he is. He really did lose out, didn't he, to the two cars in front. So he's getting sideways there through Surtees. So McEwan can now, so McEwan, I should say, can now afford to use whichever lines he wants within reason to try and get past Jason Down without having to worry about potentially leaving the door open for Armstrong behind him. Is that going to be what it takes? Well, it might be, because he's closed right in on Jason Down now. Across the line they go. He's looking to the inside again, though, and I don't think that's going to work into Paddock Hill Bend unless he carries a huge amount of speed in, which he's trying to do. But Jason Down should have the better grip on the exit, and he does. Oh, McEwan, so tantalisingly close, but just cannot complete the manoeuvre. It really reminds me this of oval racing over in America in particular. You've got the high line that seems to leave the door open on the way in, but then you carry such speed off the corner, and the inside is oh so inviting, but then you can't carry the momentum onto the next straight, and it's a fascinating scrap between the two of them, with the two different lines being used pretty well. This time, though, he's had a good run out of Graham Hill Bend. He gets to the inside into Surtees' corner, and is there anything Jason Down can do? Ooh, he's going to try and hang tough around the outside, and I think he will manage this, because he'll have the inside line if he wants it into clearways, but then McEwan pulls off the switchback, goes back up the inside, and this time it's a block pass that does not work. Oh, Jason Down spun and McEwan's in the gravel. It's all gone wrong for both of them, and through past the pair will go Mark Armstrong into second place. Well, that is typical, isn't it? Finally, McEwan made the move, but unfortunately he overcooked it, I think, and Jason Down was very keen to get off the corner as quickly as he could, and so ran into the back of him, and they both ended up going off. It's McEwan that comes out of it better, though. He's rejoined still in third, frustratingly still in third, and actually still right on the tail of Mark Armstrong, whereas Jason Down has rejoined in fourth place, but 4 seconds behind them. So that was a real shame there for the pair that have been providing us with one of the best battles of the race so far. Incidentally, for the battle to get into the top 12, there's been more changing, because now in 12th position is car number 78, Joe Walton. So Joe Walton has, I think, got ahead of 25, Matthew Skelton. Yeah, he's now out of the top 12 altogether. So Andrew Pryke is 11th. 10th position is car 140, which is Laurie Hughes. So they're the drivers on the bubble at the moment, trying to secure their position in the semi-finals. What a race it's been, though, and unfortunately it's nearly over, because we're coming through now to start the final lap of the race, and Andrew Blair, your race leader, has just gone on to his final lap. In fact, there he goes at the top of the shot through Paddock Hill Bend, and he has a big lead now over Mark Armstrong, who is second, 9.1 seconds behind, though, and then McEwan, who is still right on his tail as well. There they go, look. So the slightly newer car for McEwan is not giving him any real performance advantage right now, but he's searching for the grip again on the outside line. Now, careful, boys, don't take each other out. You're both in transfer spots quite comfortably. You don't need to be... It's only going to make the difference of, what, one position on the grid for the semi-final. It might not even make that difference if they end up in separate grids. So there's not a huge real risk and reward benefit there. Slow car in front of the leader. That was an obstacle on the final lap he could have done without, but Andrew Blair has negotiated it safely and heads now through the final corner, clearways, and into Clark Curve, and he is going to win the first ever last chance heat race here, sponsored by Camtech, and the semi-finals beckon then for Andrew Blair, who wins in the last chance heat race by a very comfortable margin indeed. What's going on for second, though? Is it Armstrong or McEwan that will come through in P2, waiting with bated breath? It's Armstrong then, so Armstrong fends off McEwan by half a second in the end. Jason Down should hang on to fourth, and into fifth place, by the way, went Jonathan Woolridge. He got past the Oliver Chapman car with, I think, only a lap or so to spare, so in fact nearly caught Jason Down for fourth. He was only 2/10 behind him by the flag, but Woolridge does at least get safely through. Sixth place for Chapman, seventh for Stuart Kestenbaum, eighth, and this was a good drive as well, worth noting, Tom Clowett, non-finisher in his heat. He started 18th on the grid and came through to finish in 8th position. 9th position then for number 90, which was Henry Campbell. Then rounding out the top 10, number 140, that's Laurie Hughes, who also came from outside of the top 12 to finish actually in the top 10 overall. 11th place for Andrew Pryke, 12th place there across the start-finish line is the number 78 car of Joe Walton. 13th for number 25 though, and unfortunately that's the first driver that doesn't make it through, and that is Matthew Skelton, who of course started up in 8th on the grid. Well, let's remind ourselves then, if we can, of all of the action in our final race of the day. A brilliant race and a great addition to the Formula Ford Festival programme, this last chance heat race. Andrew Blair started on pole and won the race, and really that makes it sound a lot less interesting a race than it was. It was actually Jason Down that got a better start, really. Mark Armstrong was away very quickly from the outside of row number 1 as well, but it was Jason Down that would snatch the advantage around the outside through Paddock Hill Bend, and he would use those outside lines to good effect throughout the rest of the race in trying to defend his position. Further back though, there was a spin for the number 87 car which went around, and unfortunately for Ian Geary that was the end of his chances to get through to the semi-finals. A couple of laps into the race, Andrew Blair made his move, got to the outside of Jason Down into Paddock Hill Bend and moved into the lead. He would eventually pull clear to the tune of nearly 9 seconds by the flag, helped significantly by the fact that the battling behind was starting to delay the other drivers with whom he was racing. The three-way battle really was between Jason Down, Stephen McEwan and Mark Armstrong, and it was Mark Armstrong who we weren't really paying a huge amount of attention to. He was there or thereabouts with a grandstand view of the two cars in front, and he was just sort of biding his time really, waiting for that to kick off, and it well and truly would. Jason Down was resolutely sticking to the outside line where the grip should be in the wet, whilst McEwan was trying to prise the door open on the inside. Eventually it came to a head with only a couple of laps to go. The pair ran side by side through Surtees, and McEwan pulled off what looked like a brilliant switchback manoeuvre to make the block pass on Jason Down. He got in front, he cleared Down, but then they both slid off. There was no contact made. Jason Down spun by being too aggressive on the power, and McEwan was carrying too much speed anyway and went through the gravel trap that handed second place to Mark Armstrong, but the win went to Andrew Blair, and he was a comfortable winner. He and the rest of the top 12 finishers from that race will seal their positions on the semi-final grids. Right then, down to Joe with our race winner.
Andrew, well done. The first ever semi-final winner that makes it through, obviously, into the semi after a disastrous heat. I had some money on you with these older cars as well in these conditions.
Good job. Very tight race, conditions were treacherous. I'm quite glad it's over.
Yeah, not only did you have to contend with the standing water, the rain, but you also had the dark there as well.
The dark was a big thing. The first lap I would drop back a place, and in the spray was just horrific. I just really struggled. All I was working with was a rain light in front of me. Luckily I pulled a move around the outside in the paddock, and it kind of stuck. It was a bit sketchy, but I was able to get a bit of free space and just try and keep the foot down and keep going.
8.5 seconds, that's the biggest winning margin today, so you can take that one home.
Excellent, fantastic. Well then, that's a bit of a party tonight then. That's a big margins, but no, very good. The team gave me a good car. We've worked and set up all day Thursday in the rain, and it's been good, enjoyable. Really enjoyed the race.
It paid off, and we'll see you for the semi-finals tomorrow.
Good job. Thank you very much.